Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. To many of those who've been rocking with the boys the last couple of years, y'all know when you start seeing me bust out my very underwhelming Canva graphic making skills, that's when I got some takes I want to get off my chest. Now, over the last 48 hours, we have seen a plethora of names getting thrown out there to be LSU's next head football coach. And I've been very vocal that I don't think people recognize how big of a storyline this is. If LSU gets this right, you could see this program join the likes of Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. That's just the firepower that this program has when they got the right man running the show. Who are the best candidates out there? Now, I want to be very clear about this. Marcus Freeman, Dan Lanning at Oregon, Nick Saban up there at ESPN. These are all names that you have seen get circulated as well. I'm kind of putting those names to the side. When we hear more buzz around those names, if we hear more buzz around those names, we'll certainly talk about them. But in terms of right now, realistic quality candidates for LSU, this is what I have. Now, I think there are a lot of LSU fans, and I think there are some college football fans that look at Kelvin Sheppard and say, I don't even know who that is. We'll get into him. I know this is a hot take, but the LSU fans on the message boards, y'all sold me on Kelvin Sheppard. I think Kelvin Sheppard would, at the very least, be an exciting hire for LSU to make. And here's what I'll say about what I'm looking for. Go take a swing. Don't play this safe. You could go out and get a guy like James Franklin, and he'd win 8, 9, 10 games a year pretty damn consistently. I want LSU to take a head coach that, okay, he'll expose you to some risk, but I want exposure to upside. I want exposure to a coach that can take me to that level that we just talked about, joining the ranks of Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia. Some of these names, in my opinion, they have that. And again, I think when you're taking a swing like that, when you want exposure to that level of upside, you might have to give your exposure to a little bit of risk as well. I think LSU fans, I think they're comfortable there. And I also want to be very clear about this. There are 5 candidates on this graphic. I think there are 30 candidates that could make it work at LSU and win a national championship. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the LSU fans and hey, college football fans too, let it fly. I would love to hear specifically from the LSU fans who are the ideal candidates after being able to digest the names for the last 48 hours. Who do we really like? Let it rip in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. Many of the LSU fans have been rocking with the boys for a very long time, so we appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into it. Lane Kiffin, number 1. He seems to be, at least the way I look at it, the perfect balance between, I think he gives you a ton of upside. What he can do attracting offense, what he can do attracting talent, period. What he has shown to do in terms of evaluating transfer portal additions, what he has shown to be as an offensive play caller. There are so many quality aspects about Lane Kiffin. There's also not a ton of risk. I think Lane Kiffin has shown you that he can win football games in this conference, but also you got to be excited about what Lane Kiffin could do at a program like LSU. He has shown us over the last couple of years that in this modern era of the sport where you're seeing a lot of coaches struggle to get adjusted, how do I want to build my roster? How much do I want to put resources into recruiting high school? How much do I want to put my resources into the transfer portal? Lane Kiffin has shown you that he can balance that really well. And has, even going back to last year at Ole Miss, has built rosters that can compete at the highest level of the sport. And you make zero mistake about it. The resources that he could garner at LSU, it's just more than Ole Miss. I feel pretty dang comfortable getting up here and saying that. Number 2, and this is the coach that I want to spend the most amount of time on, and that is Kelvin Sheppard. Now, to those who don't know Kelvin Sheppard, he's an LSU alum, played for LSU, won a national championship at LSU, former linebacker. He's currently the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, who happen to have one of the best teams that we see in the NFL. I ain't a massive NFL guy, but I know the Detroit Lions, they roll in the last couple of years. Why Kelvin Sheppard? Number one, historically, we've seen a lot of coaches return to their alma mater, take over a program, and have success. And like, go look at Brent Key at Georgia Tech, go look at Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, you look at Kirby Smart at Georgia. There are a ton of examples of coaches coming back home and having a ton of success. And I think at a program like LSU, where Kelvin Sheppard lived it, he felt it, he knows what it looks like when LSU is firing on all cylinders. That to me, it matters. Now, here's the other thing that I think is really important to mention when you're talking Kelvin Sheppard. This is not a unproven coach in terms of X's and O's, what he can do as a old ball coach. One of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. Like, there are not many NFL franchises who have their ducks in a row, you might say. The Detroit Lions are one of them. They're just producing and spitting out elite coaches. The fact that Kelvin Sheppard has slowly worked his way up that organization, that tells you he's a really damn good football coach. The concern here, he's a 37-year-old that has spent 1 year at the college ranks, and that was, I believe, player development in 2020 at LSU. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is he's never been a head coach. He hasn't been at the college landscape in the last 5 years. There's some unknowns about Kelvin Sheppard. I think that's very fair, right? That there is definitely some risk to bringing in a guy like Kelvin Sheppard. You're kind of expediting that rise through the coaching ranks pretty dang good. In this era of the sport, where number one, it's not like you'll have to dish out $12 million to Kelvin Sheppard to get him to come down to LSU. It would be a smaller head coaching salary because he's never been a head coach before. He's not garnering $10+ million a year. So you're going to have money to build a staff around him. I think you can mitigate a lot of those inexperience, has never been a head coach concerns. And like, number one, go out and get a bona fide general manager, like Chad Bowden at USC. There are, I mean, Courtney Morgan at Alabama is another good example. If you're nervous about Kelvin Sheppard navigating the NIL waters, the revenue share waters, the recruiting waters, the transfer portal waters, guess what you can do? Go out and get one of the best general managers in the country. I promise you there will be a line out the door of really good general managers that would want to take over the roster building process down there at LSU. That makes me feel a heck of a lot better about Kelvin Sheppard navigating being a head coach in college. Number two, well, what staff do you bring in around him? And you could go get a guy like Gus Malzahn, who's been a head coach in this conference, who's a really good offensive coordinator that Kelvin Sheppard can lean on in terms of navigating being the head coach. Bobby Petrino could be another candidate you could surround him with. I think there are ways to mitigate the concerns that you have about Kelvin Sheppard being inexperienced. There's risk, right? This might not be a hire for everybody, but I think there'd be a lot of ceiling to that. Joe Brady, another one very similar, right? Yeah, this is another well-liked guy within the LSU fan base, played a large hand in what that 2019 offense was for LSU. I'm not going to repeat everything I said, but everything I said about Kelvin Sheppard kind of translates to Joe Brady as well, just kind of being an offensive guy as opposed to a defensive guy. And I almost, now that I'm talking about it, like Joe Brady might be a guy that I like more than Kelvin Sheppard because I think getting a head coach that knows how to develop and attract top end quarterbacks, that is such a big deal in this era of the sport. We are out of the COVID era. You're not seeing a lot of consistent difference making quarterbacks because you don't see those 6th and 7th year quarterbacks anymore. They ain't no many super senior quarterbacks anymore. As a result, you've seen woefully inconsistent quarterback play. You've seen a lot of lack of development from the quarterback play. Go look at Lenore Sellers. Go look at Arch Manning. Go look at DJ Lagway. There's examples all over the board. If you can get a head coach that gives you a leg up when it comes to getting the best out of quarterbacks and when it comes to attracting the best quarterbacks to your program, that matters. I think Joe Brady certainly would provide that to LSU. Now, Jeff Brom at 4, he's one of the best head coaches in the sport, right? He's won everywhere he's been. I mean, he won at Purdue. Purdue's really hard to win at. Even then, he's gone to Louisville. He's won a lot at Louisville too. Elite when it comes to offensive play calling, game planning, getting the best out of quarterbacks. Would he be able to recruit the way necessary and build the roster the way necessary that you need to do at LSU? It feels very, very similar to the conversation we had when Mike Elko went from Duke to Texas A&M. Ain't nobody knocked Mike Elko as a ball coach. We know he's one of the best defensive minds that this sport has to offer. Guys get better when they get coached under Mike Elko. We knew he was a good coach. The bigger concern was Texas A&M's a really big program, and there's a lot more to running that program than just being a good coach. And talent acquisition, talent roster building is certainly at play. Is Jeff Brom a guy that we trust to do that at LSU? Because I don't think I'm breaking any news to the LSU fans. When you talk about winning SEC titles, when you talk about winning national championships, of which the expectation is that at LSU, it starts with talent acquisition. You have to have the Jimmies and Joes on your roster to bang with the best programs in the sport. It don't matter how good of a football coach you are if you can't get the talent in your building. Is Jeff Brom the coach to do that? And then John Summerall at 5. Here's another sneaky one, by the way. Willie Fritz. Talk about another Tulane guy that's now at Houston doing a really good job turning around Houston. I get Willie Fritz would not win the press conferences. He's a little bit of an older cat. Kurt Signetti vibes a little bit in terms of he's an older guy. He's not necessarily the most charismatic, but all that cat does is win. Willie Fritz would be another interesting one to talk about too. It's so fun, and there's so many different directions LSU could go. Do they go? I mean, Lane Kiffin's the guy that to me checks the most amount of boxes. There are really good football coaches that you could go with, kind of following the Mike Elko template, a guy like Jeff Brom. And then there are the Dan Lanning templates of young, energetic coaches that will provide a ton of energy to this program that aren't proven head coaches, but you kind of think they could be really good head coaches, even though there's no prior data that you can point to back it up. A lot of coaches can work at LSU. I'll say that. This is the list that excites me the most. I'd probably replace John Summerall with Willie Fritz if I could go back and make the graphic again. We'll pause there. LSU fans, let it fly in the comments. So much insight. I've been living on the LSU message boards over the last 48 hours, and there's so many different takes, not of all which I agree with, but very unique takes that make me think. So please let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll tell you this, even when LSU names their next head coach, which probably won't be for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be really fun to talk about this football team the next couple of months, because it's not only a head coach, it's the players that are going to come with them. It's the staff that's going to come with them as well. We're going to have a lot to talk about around this program the next couple of months. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.